Welcome to my first Roblox scripting tutorial, where I will be teaching you how to build doors that have codes to them, but also how to add more than one code to the doors, because the only doors I could find like that, they only showed you how to make one code. So, all you're going to do is, of course, you first need to make a room. So we're going to get a block here. And the first thing you should do when you put a block down is, if you don't want it to move, you should go up here and press the anchor button. That will prevent your model that you create from moving around and falling apart when you join the game. So now I'm just going to make a little house. It's not going to be anything fancy. Beautiful. All it needs is a roof. And now I'm all set to make my door. So to make my door, I'm just going to duplicate all these parts like I was doing earlier by pressing Ctrl and D. And then I can move this around, but I still have the wall here. So I want my door to be, I want my door to be in the middle of my model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up with the grid so that it's in the middle. Alright, that's the start of my door frame. Now I'm going to need to duplicate this again. Drag it a little bit up here. Duplicate that again. Drag it down here. Make it the smallest it can go. Now, I'm on half a stud, 0.05 studs. That's my move increment, so when I scale things, or when I move them around, they will move by half a stud at a time. If you want to change this, you can go up here, press, type whatever you want in there, and now I can scale this even smaller. So now we need to make the actual door. So I'm just going to duplicate this, drag it, and if you want to move a part or scale it down in two different directions at the same time, you can click one of the circles and press Ctrl, and if you move it in, it'll move both sides that have that same colored circle in at once. So I'm going to do that twice. So now I have my door. I'm just going to change the door color to blue. You can change the door color to any color that you want. And now what I want to do is I want to go to this part, and what I need is a script in here. So first of all, I'm going to group this model to make it easier to move it around. Right click and then hit group. And now I can go into this model, and I'll go down each part and find all the ones that are not my door. Alright, so this one's my door, so I'm going to rename this to door, and I can select all the other parts at once by pressing Ctrl and then clicking. And now what I want to do is create a union, and what a union does is it basically turns all of these parts that I have selected into one part. So now if I move this one part, you can see all of those blocks I put, they move at once. So now I've created my own unique part, and we'll name this house. So now I want to go to my door. I want to press this little plus button right here. And if this is your first time using Studio, it'll probably look like this, but it's better if you press toggle expanded view. And then you're going to want to go to script. Now this is the default text for scripts, but you can remove that if you want. So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to script the door in order to make the door open when we type a code in the chat. First thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need variables. Variables are when we reference an object that we want to be in the script before we start typing the script. That way, as we go on, we can use simple words to describe long lines of code instead of typing out those long lines of code every time we need to reference a part in the script. So to create a variable, first you type local, and then you're going to type the name of whatever you want the variable to be named. So for this, we're going to do door. And now we need to reference which part in the workspace that is. Now, you could do this in very long ways. For example, workspace dot model dot door, which is a lot more work. Or you could just do script dot parent, which is a lot easier, especially if you have multiple grouped objects in your workspace named model. So local door equals script.parent. Now what that means is that when you open this little arrow for door, the script will be in here. So this script is a child of the door, and this door is the parent of the script. That's all this means, script.parent. And if we go back to the workspace thing, if we go to workspace.model, we are referencing the child of the workspace, which is model. And then model has a child that we need to reference, so we go model.door. And, when you open this little arrow, the door is there. But since that's more complicated and you might have to change that if you have more models in your game, we're just going to make the parent script.parent. Or we're going to make the variable referencing script.parent. So now we need to make keys or codes for our door. So we need to make more variables, local code equals, and then in quotation marks, you're going to put whatever your code is going to be. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3. Now, in this script, I'm going to teach you how to make multiple codes for a door so that you can have codes that everyone uses that only open for a certain amount of time, but then you have a code you can use that opens it for a longer amount of time, and there's going to be a code that opens all the doors at once. And I'll show you that. I'll duplicate this model when I'm done, and then I will change the codes for each of the models, and then I will show you what you can do with that. Next, we're going to make local code 2 equals, and let's make this code 1, 2, 3 override, since we are overriding the previous code and we are forcing the door to open. And then we're going to make a third one, local code 3 equals quotation marks, override all. Alright, so now that we have our variables, we're going to press enter 2 times, and we are going to begin, making the actual part of the script that works and, makes the door do stuff. So we're going to need to create a function, and to do that, we're going to do game.players.player added, and make sure you're paying attention to which letters have capitals here, because the computer will only understand letters when they are spelled a specific way, and that includes capitals. So as you're following the tutorial, make sure you pay attention to which letters have capitals and which ones don't. Okay, so game.players.player added connect function in parentheses, and you're going to add another parentheses and say player. And you're just going to take out this extra parentheses that's right here because we don't need that and the computer won't understand that. So then you press enter again and you do player dot chatted connect function, and then again we're going to do the parentheses, and now we need to do MSG, which stands for message, and then we're going to do PLYR, which stands for player, and get rid of that extra parentheses there at the end. So now that we have this, we're going to drop a line again by pressing enter and type if MSG, or message, is equal to, which is represented in code by two equal signs next to each other, space, code, then. Now we're going to drop a line again and we're going to do door dot transparency. And dot transparency will control the transparency of the door if the message equals code. So we're going to hit space, enter, 0.5. And you can adjust this number to your liking later, but for now, just follow the script so that when you go to test it, you can find any errors. And once you know it works, you can edit the variables that are going to be in yellow, or you can change these things up here. Then we're going to do door.canCollide. And what canCollide does is it tells the game whether or not players can interact with that object. So if we're going to make canCollide equal false, which means we will be able to walk through our part that the door is. And now we need it to wait. And we're going to make the wait 1 second. Alright, we're going to press enter again. And now that we've made the script wait 1 second, we now need to close our door. So door.transparency equals 0, because we don't want it to be see-through at all, so that we know that the door is closed. Door.canCollide equals true, because we don't want to be able to walk through the door anymore, because now we want the door to be closed. So now that we have this, we can go back here and we can go to home, press play, and we can walk up to our door and we can test the code 1 2 3, and the door will open for 1 second and then close, which means we did it right. But now we need to make these other two codes work. So we need to drop a line again and type else if. And else if means if message does not equal code, then check this. Right? So if this is wrong, then check this below it. So else if MSG is equal to, which is two equal signs, code 2. Else if message is equal to code 2, and then press enter. And now we're just going to do the same thing that we did up here, and we're going to do it down here. But we're going to, change some numbers. So door.transparency equals 0.5. Door.canCollide equals false. We're going to wait. This time we're going to wait for 5 seconds, because this code is supposed to make the door open for longer. And now we're going to close our door. Door.transparency equals 0. Door.canCollide equals true. So now we have code 2 working. So let's go here, press play, and see if both our codes work. Now our code was 1 2 3, override. And if I did that correctly, then the door should open, but this time it will open for 5 seconds. So if we have a lot of people that need to come through the door at once, then this is perfect, because we can open the door for longer and allow more people to get in. Alright, so stop. So now we need to make code 3 work. So, just like we did for code 2, we're going to drop a line and do an else if MSG is equal to code 3. Then we need to open the door. Door.transparency equals 0.5. Door.canCollide equals false. And this time we're going to wait for 10 seconds, because, all the doors are open. We need to give people time to get through those doors, right? So wait 10 seconds, And then we need to close the door. Door dot transparency equals 0. Door dot can collide equals true, because we want the door to be closed. Now we need to go here and press play and see if that code works too. Let's do override all. So now this door will stay open for 10 seconds, which means we can get in and out of it for 10 whole seconds before it closes on us. So now let's test all of our codes to make sure all of them still work. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, override. Stays open for longer than the first one. And override all. Stay open the longest, which means we did everything right. Hooray! So now that we know that our script is working, we can go ahead and close this. And I'm going to show you how this would be practical in an actual game. So if I click play again, and if you turn around, you'll see that I have made 3 giant doors. Now each door has a different code. This one is ABC. This one is DEF. This one is GHI. So all of these codes have different doors. So let's say each one of these is a house for each one of your friends. So your friends have the code for their house, but let's say you make a different code so that if you need to, since you're the owner of the game, you can open their door without them coming and opening it for you. So we have GHI override. So it's override GHI, which will open the door for you. You can change that to any, word you want. And then all of these other doors will have the same thing. Override DEF and override ABC. But let's say you need all of these doors open at once. So that's great. You can just type in override all. And all the doors will open at once, including our little house we made over there. So now you know how to make codes so that, let's say, everyone in your little game can have their own little house, but you can still get into them without admin commands or something. And now you have a way to open all the doors in your game at once. Or if you want, you could use override codes to make, certain groups of doors. So since now you know how to make the codes and how to use else-if functions, you can actually add more. So you could add more codes. So you could have an override all, you could have certain groups. So you can make an override 1, override 2, and then only certain groups of doors would open. If you want, you could even only have one code. So you could just take out these 2 else-ifs and make it so that there's only one code for your door. Or you can take out the bottom one and make only 2 codes. Whatever you want. So I hope this tutorial was helpful, and I hope I actually taught you something about scripts while also teaching you how to make a cool script to create doors. And if you did find it helpful, you could like the video so that other people looking for a tutorial like this can find it. Or you could also send this video to any, friends that you have who want to learn more about scripting too.